UFC. I am the greatest combat athlete of all time.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to this episode of Tell the Tape. I'm your host, Henry Cejudo, aka Triple C. And on today's episode of Tell the Tape, I'm going to be breaking down Paddy Pimblett versus Bobby Green. Now, guys, this fight was just announced. I mean, who's all excited? But anyhow, this episode wouldn't be possible without our sponsor. That's right, I'm talking about Jimmy Bar. You guys make sure to go to a local Walmart and get yourself the meal replacement bar that is out in stores nationwide. So you guys make sure to go to jimmybars.com and get your Jimmy on. So here we have it, man. Paddy Pimblett, 24 fights, 21-3 versus Bobby Green with 49 fights. Jesus. Golly, that's a lot of losses. That's a lot of fights, but it's also a lot of losses. 11 KOs to 6 KOs, 6 decisions to 9 submissions to Bobby Green, 9 submissions, 12 decisions, and 11 KOs. That's pretty diverse from Bobby. You know what I'm saying? That lets you know that he understands all the different gears that kind of go through. You know, height 5'10" to 5'10", reach 73 to 71. Wow. Reach advantage. Who was expecting this? 37 years young for Bobby Green to the age advantage to a guy like Paddy Pimblett. But without further ado, let's talk about Paddy the Fatty Pimblett. Paddy Pimblett's strengths. I will say this, he's a goer, man. And particularly with him being that goer, is he does like to kick. And he will kick, and that's one thing when you get a guy that's maybe not the sharpest, you know, guy that could do this, but that could do this and actually kick. That's a guy that's dangerous. And not just that, but his submission game too. It's underrated. You know, Paddy Pimblett is gotten twisters and things of that nature. Obviously, it was back at Cage Warriors for back in the day, but the dude goes and he attempts to submit people. And not just that, but he's on a 7-fight win streak and undefeated in the UFC. But anyhow, that being said, you know, it's kind of weird because we don't know that much about a guy like Paddy Pimblett, but he apparently happens to be a fan favorite, and somehow that's a strength. You know, he's going. You know, if he's that type of guy, which I know he is, that likes to kind of feed off the crowd, especially when people are cheering you on and things like that. Yeah. So correction. So he is on a 7-fight win streak, but 5 are in the UFC. Crazy. Now let's talk about Paddy Pimblett's weaknesses. His upright stance. He's a little too. It's not just his stance, but his chin's a little too high up in the air. And not just that too, though. On top of his chin being up in the air, he doesn't know how to control his head with his punches, where he's able to really make everything look a lot smoother and be in better position. And because your position is not in point, then that has to pretty much mess up your lateral movements through your stance. So it's weird that everything kind of falls into place. You know, your stance, your position, your stance has a lot to do with your punching. But on top of that, you know, if your position's not on point, you're gonna struggle with moving side to side. You'll have takedowns and things of that nature, but you won't have those lateral movements to have the ability to actually get out. The struggles fighting backwards. If you watch guys, again, Paddy's one of them, where he's just here, he's good. But when he's here, does he have the ability to create angles and strike or look for his takedowns and actually do things? And I feel like that's one thing that Bobby Green will bring to the table. Is Bobby Green is gonna press this dude forward. But without further ado, man, let's talk about, you know, only God can judge me. Bobby Green. What are his strengths? Dude, the dude can strike, man. The dude can strike. I had even called it with, you know, me and Kamaru Usman. We did a little bet. Bobby Green versus his last fight, Jim Miller. I was like, Bobby Green's just gonna piece him up on the feet. You know, his striking is great. his confidence. The dude has a confidence like you wouldn't believe. The dude believes, even though he has like 15 losses, it's like none of those losses exist because he lives in the moment. And I also feel like his confidence will make Bobby Green dangerous. And his experience, man, 49 fights, Jesus, man. You have to love to fight with 40. Guys, I have 20. This guy has double my fights plus some. His experience has a lot to do with a lot of the losses that he does have, but a guy like that has learned a lot from them. Yeah, and against, coming off an impressive win with Miller, which I do believe Miller is a tougher, is a more diverse fight than a guy like Paddy Pimblett, even though Miller has been in the game a lot longer. I still feel like a guy like Paddy Pimblett is different. And I think what Paddy brings to the table is his youth. But let's talk about Bobby Green's weaknesses. Same thing. He'll talk, he'll showboat. Hands down. You watch that fight with the tarantula. He got caught, hands too low, takes one damn hit. But not just that, man. It's like, there's an ego. We all have the ego. And he's so good, man. This dude is so good. He can be technical with anybody that he fights. But at times he decides to just trade in the pocket, go blow for blow. And with MMA, it's not boxing. With MMA, that 4-ounce gloves will shut anybody's lights out. And for that reason, he does leave his chin exposed, because he does decide, one, to go into that pocket, and in reality he's a technical fighter, but he decides to bring that fight. When you leave your chin exposed, I mean, that's the thing that will that's the thing that will put you out. That's the thing that these are things from watching, his last fights. Not just that, but just like MVP, showboats. Remember, guys, we gotta throw the showboating out the damn way unless you use it very intelligently. Where you're not exchanging, where you'll showboat and you'll get takedowns. Looking for something a lot safer than what's actually out there. And let's take it to the punch stats. Paddy Pimblett, strikes landed per minute, 5.13 to strikes landed per minute for Bobby Green. You got to give the edge to Bobby Green. Strikes absorbed per minute because he doesn't throw as much. Defensively, he's better. Takedown accuracy. Wow, we should look at that. Pretty much 40% of the time that he attempts a takedown, he actually gets it. That ain't a bad stat. Takedown defense. This is one of his best areas right here, and I think people overlook that. Even though Islam did what he did to him, this dude will go in there and he will defend people to keep it on his feet, to compete. He turns it into a fight. He wants to hurt people to submission average. You gotta give it to Paddy Pimblett. I love the fact that every time we do punch stats, it gives me a more of it just breaks things down for me a lot better. Because when you start looking at these numbers, you're just like, all right, man, let me make my calculation here. It isn't always right, but I just feel like when I see this fight and I see Paddy Pimblett, and I'm actually even surprised that Paddy Pimblett took this fight, but it was about time. It was a 6th fight, and now it's time for him to fight somebody that's actually, worth a damn. And I do believe that's Bobby Green. Bobby Green is dangerous with not just his striking, but his takedown defense. And if Paddy Pimblett cannot take this dude down, if it just comes down to the feet, this man right here is gonna pap him up. And that's the same reason why I'm going with Bobby Green.
This just getting started. Paddy, I'm coming after you. July, I'm coming to your backyard with your people and kick your
because I just feel like it's too much. I feel like this is the time. I guarantee you the UFC to put the pressure on a guy like Paddy Pimblett. Hey man, you gotta fight somebody. Like, we can only promote you for so long before people just start getting sick of you. You know what I'm saying? I think that's the position that they're on. So I just feel like Bobby Green, his striking is just too damn good. And his takedown defense is too damn good. And I just feel like if that's where the fight's gonna go, then I have to go with the guy that has better striking. So I'm betting the house on Bobby Green. Thank you guys for watching. I'm your host, Henry Cejudo, aka Triple C. And you guys did not forget to go to your local Walmart and get yourself the gluten-free bar that is out in store nationwide. So you guys make sure to go to jimmybars.com and get your damn Jimmy on. Till next time, I'm out.